May 12th, 1846. The Donner Party departs Independence, Missouri with what seemed like enough snacks. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And our guest is friend of the show and absolutely hilarious. Please welcome back Christie Buchele.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to have you.
I like your lack of a noun in that. Friend of the show and absolutely hilarious. Period. No noun.
Look,
no discussion.
It's fine.
It's finals week. I've
technically
been up to my ankles in nouns for like 2 days straight.
Yeah, dude.
Technically it works in that context.
Exactly.
The way you said it, it felt like there should be another word on the end of that sentence.
Well, duly noted.
That concludes our podcast critique section.
Thanks.
Yeah. Usually we spend about 2 hours prior to the show critiquing Brian's performance, but occasionally it seeps into the show itself a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much how I spend most of my days anyway. So
yeah, he does most of the critiquing himself. He handles it
I just
admirably.
call Zach and criticize myself for 2 hours. It's very nice of him to actually indulge me like that. Mm-hmm. What do we do on this bullshit?
So if you've never listened before, this is a comedy/history podcast in which we examine a person or event from the history of the human race. And
no dinosaur history? No.
As of yet, no. But if you want to get into some Jurassic shit, I guess we could. I don't know if we'd be able to examine specific individual dinosaurs so much as species.
I mean, that would just be a
Denver,
fun...
the last dinosaur? I think maybe he could have some interesting...
that'd just be a fun hour of just shitting on different dinosaur breeds.
Regardless, this is a mostly non-dinosaur podcast.
Lame. I'm going. I'm leaving.
Well, actually...
Wait till you see my alternate history.
Yeah. The first part is strictly non-dinosaur. Part 2, dinosaur possible. Open to dinosaurs. It's like a thing you see on a profile for a furry. Open to dinosaurs. Regardless, we look at a person or event from history, we tell this true story of that person or event, and then another fellow person on the podcast tells a crazy batshit alternate version that may or may not involve dinosaurs or robots or demons or wizards or any of the and all of the above.
Can have all of them.
Exactly.
And at the end, we vote on what is the true history of this brilliant blue marble called Earth going forward.
Your description of the show has gotten more and more elaborate as time goes on.
Well, the show, I think, has gained layers. And by that, I mean...
It has for me, for sure. I'm like, whoa, did that happen? I want it to.
I mean, we don't keep track of it in part. I actually, the show has probably gotten simpler because as our crippling drinking problem has progressed, we've lost brain cells.
Yeah.
I drink enough for the two of us, I think, Brian.
Brian's just sitting here drinking tea, so I don't know about it being a team drinking problem, but...
No, we agreed. We share our problems.
Yeah. Yes, we say are. When Brian calls me about his insecurities, I say there are insecurities and vice versa. But last time, you may remember, if you're a regular listener of the show, we had the wonderful Katie Bowman on.
Yeah, she is awesome.
Yeah, we discussed another awesome person, Eugene Ballard, a African-American French airman in World War I who was dissed by his home country of America. Brian is taking a selfie. Behind the scenes, check our Instagram. Check our Instagram for this awesome selfie.
So good.
The best.
Anyways, Eugene Ballard, a real American hero, interrupted by a selfie, like so many people at the Vietnam Memorial.
Sorry, we got bored.
We did a full episode on him.
does not deserve the respect. The 21st century no longer respects him. But apparently neither do we, because his true inspiring story of being a jazz beau and a French airman was also added to by Katie Bowman, who said he was a friend to sex workers, giving them condoms and bear spray to keep away dangerous Johns.
Mm-hmm. And again, thank you to Katie Bowman for that.
Yeah. This week we are discussing Jeannette Rankin. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct. I am not doing any of the parts this week, so I don't, as per usual, don't know what the fuck is going on. He's
actually just way more drunk than usual. That's his prerogative.
Mm-hmm. Jeannette Rankin.
Yeah, when I get this drunk, usually whoever goes second wins, because it's the only one I can remember by the end of the show.
But Christie, you're doing the true story.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the alternate, so whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I was supposed to say that part, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I just can't wait
we'll get
to
there
build
together.
This mythos of
we'll
the
get
show.
there together. It's Friday, you guys. We're doing our best.
Yeah, it is Friday. Usually we record on hump day, but
we don't need to call it that. That's fine.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock here, and it's Friday, so that explains it.
Yep.
Hey there, this is Brian, reminding you that The Revisionist is supported by listeners just like you. You can make a pledge and get rewards like shirts and even the right to vote over at patreon.com/therevisionists.
Okay, Jeannette Rankin. She was born in 1880 in Missoula, Montana. She was the first congresswoman in Montana. Which was considered a pretty liberal place. It's kind of interesting. A lot of these Western states, Montana, Wyoming, things like that, they actually granted the right to vote at the state level much earlier than most states because, well, they didn't have a lot of people. They needed everyone they could get is really why they did it. But I like to think they thought women were people. But she was
That's, I think, if you go to Wyoming nowadays, their state motto is, we like to think we thought women were people.
Yeah. It's really different now. It's changed.
Yeah.
They've really taken steps back in progress. But she was the only female congresswoman. She still is the only one they've ever had.
Oh, really? I missed that part. Jesus Christ, Montana, get your shit together.
So interesting. But she became a congresswoman in 1916, was instrumental in bringing the national suffrage movement to Woodrow Wilson's desk, almost directly. So that's awesome. She was also the only congresswoman to vote against going into World War I. Men voted against it, but she was the only woman, so she was the only one that was really criticized. But I think 50 men voted against it. And then she also was the only Congress person in either House, Senate, or House of Representatives. She was the only person to vote against entering World War II when Pearl Harbor was bombed, which is I think is very interesting. She obviously then got death threats, and she, her life was, probably much more difficult. But she's as a woman, I cannot vote to go to war or send anyone else to go to war. I cannot do that. But I thought it was very interesting because there was only when we voted after 9/11 for the necessary force, giving Trump, or not Trump, sorry, oh God, giving Bush the right to do whatever he deemed necessary. Barbara Lee, the representative from California, was the only person to vote against that as well. And they both, Barbara Lee and Jeannette Rankin, had social work background.
Shit.
So, and I don't know if this is what Jeannette Rankin was thinking, but most social workers have dealt with trauma before, and they know that it's right after trauma, whether it's Pearl Harbor or 9/11, is not the time to be voting on things like this. You need like a wait period. So they probably both were like, we're angry right now. We're not thinking straight. Like, let's take a step. So it's not that they were like, let's never take care of this, but they probably were just like, whoa, be cool, just for a minute. And so I thought that was really interesting comparison because I had heard about Barbara Lee before, and to find that Jeanette made that same thing way before. I mean, now women are given much more leeway to, you know, have opinions and be in power, and you know, it's not as but they were both given so much criticism, and I do feel like it's probably worse because they were women, and so I think that's very interesting. But that's her main gig, is voting against war in this way and being the only obstinate voice, especially in World War II, and obviously being very instrumental in the suffrage movement. She grew up as the oldest of 4 girls and a boy, and her brother actually was the attorney general in Montana. She had to wield a lot of his power to get her power, which is very interesting. She needed to use her brother's name in order to get her foot in the door, but she's willing to go that route, which I think is awesome. And she would do a lot of the same chores as boys growing up, whether it was like all the farm stuff, and that was like the foundation of her being like, well, if women have to do all this work, why don't we get a voice as well? And so that's really where it came from.
It's worth noting that at the time, the boy chores and the girl chores were technically the same, but the girls had to use pink shovels and or rakes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Exactly.
We've come a long way.
Yeah, they had to shoot lame cows with a pink shotgun.
Yep. This is true. Sam Talent. I don't know if you guys have ever had him on this podcast, but he growing up, he had a sister, and they literally did have what they called pink and blue chores.
Oh, Jesus.
So girls had to dust and boys mowed the lawn, and they called them pink and blue chores. So that's just what it reminds me of. Anyways.
Oh, Sam Talent's life.
Yeah. So, you know, that's probably not that far from the truth, is what I'm saying. But yeah, that was what she did. And she lived to 1976 or something. She was like 96. She lived so long. 73 maybe it might have been. But
to the point where... Sorry.
Yeah. And she was also clearly a lesbian. And I'm just like, hell yeah. Like her biographers, like she had a life partner that was a woman, but her biographers are kind of split on whether or not she was actually a lesbian or more asexual. But I just feel like history wasn't ready, and she probably was.
I feel like it's almost like historical biographers have to do that thing where like they can never just be like she was probably gay or he was probably gay. They have to be like, Peter and his constant chum Charlie were always together. Even at home, they would spend long, leisurely nights by the fire with friendly evening activities.
They did this with Eleanor Roosevelt, too. They're like, oh, Franklin built her a house in the woods for her and her ladies to hang out. It's like, yeah, right. He was off having sex with his other cousins. So, I get it. They were both happy, but it was just like, oh, her friends. It's like, yeah, right. But anyways.
Franklin.
I was also, sorry, not laughing at the suggestion that she was a lesbian, but just mainly at Christie's expression when she said that. Yeah. Which was just like...
What did I... Oh.
I don't know. It was just something in your eyes.
She was a lesbian. It makes me like her more. Just makes me like her more, you know, really. Because she didn't need a man, and she really didn't need a man, you know? And I wish I was that much of a lesbian.
And I mean, being born in the 1880s also.
Yeah. It sucks that... but it's so great that she probably put all her sexual energy into politics, since she couldn't actually be her true self. So we appreciate you, Jeanette Rankin. She also, if you look at pictures, oh man, the hats. Her hats were on point. She looks very stylish. I'm super jealous.
We'll get some good hat pics up on the Instagram.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I feel like in the past, 40 years, the hat games, especially in America, have really been on the decline.
Yeah, I feel like last couple years maybe it's taken an uptick,
But
yeah, everybody's talking about the Met Gala or whatever. Rihanna had that Pope hat.
That Pope hat. Oh my God. One of the things about Jeannette Rankin too, when we talk about her like being in office for like both the votes on World War I and World War II, like she wasn't in like the whole time too. She got like voted out after voting against World War I, and then voted out after voting against World War II. So she served 2 terms.
Yeah, she
just
came
at these
back.
very specific moments, which is like, again, very interesting that like she was willing to pay that price for what she believed was
she
right.
knew, like, the second time around, she knew if I vote against this, and it was much more like a lot of people were isolationists and didn't want to intervene in World War I. That was a pretty common feeling, but in World War II, we've been attacked. It's way different, and she still was willing to like not go that direction. And I've been watching Ken Burns' The War a lot recently because I have a very specific type of depression. And just watching the death of that, it's like, oh man, Jeanette, you tried. I mean, we had to enter that war, but it should not be taken lightly. And I do feel like politicians often are very shill. It's almost like it's like how meat eaters don't think about their meat as food. They don't think of soldiers as real people with families and things like that. And she was able to do that.
Well, and I mean, especially in like a World War II situation, it's basically a given that everyone else is going to vote for it. That like, it's less like she voted against, fighting Hitler and more for like, I want to make sure I say something that like stands up for my beliefs.
Yes. She was like, I know I would be the first woman to get a chance to vote on this. And I wanted to be the one that said no. She knew, and she did it because she's a woman, not necessarily because she thought it was the popular, like, even the right or wrong thing. And she just felt like she was speaking for women, and she felt like she knew what women would want, which that's so powerful of her as well, because she didn't have kids, but she was able to like speak for all the mothers, being like, I don't want to send my son to war. Like, and I do feel like most moms feel that way.
Yeah, regardless
most
of
women are pacifists in that way.
Yeah,
right.
Not
I believe
Paul Ryan's mom, but most.
Yeah, I wanna. Yeah, but I don't want to generalize. Some women are bloodthirsty and want to kill, but
I imagine
a lot
Paul
of them
Ryan's mom
don't.
tried pushing him into traffic a lot, but just that face alone. But also, like, even into her 90s when Vietnam was around, she was protesting the war and even briefly considered running again for Congress.
Yeah.
In order to like protest the war in a more formal way.
Right.
Which is insane, like, level of stamina. I don't know if that's the right term, but I'm going to use it.
Right.
Just like the moral strength she had is insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Christy, thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
Coming to you from the X-Axis, it's John of All Trades with your host, John X.
Welcome to this John of All Trades podcast promo. Each Wednesday, I bring you a brand new interview with someone fascinating and ask the question we all ask when we meet someone new. Hey, what do you do? It's fun, informative, and it's the 2017 Westward Reader's Choice Award winner for Best Denver Podcast. iTunes, Stitcher, and johnofalltrades.us.
Anything else I missed, do you feel like? Or
I mean, I think we hit the major
Yeah.
points. I mean, I do have this here.
Oh, it's an old shoe he found.
yeah.
There's some baby raccoons inside.
Yeah. Yes, raccoons, of course. I found it down in the creek.
Uh-huh.
Um,
To be more accurate, we're broadcasting from Montana to really get that Rankin feel.
yeah, of course. We had to run an Ethernet cable for thousands of miles because I don't think there's Wi-Fi in Montana. I mean, most of the alternate history is really just like things that affected her life. She still made the same decisions, but different things brought her to those moments, maybe. So she was, of course, born Jeanette Odin's daughter in Asgard. Maybe I saw Infinity War a day ago when I was working on this.
And he saw a lot of parallels, is what he's trying to say.
Yep. And
is she gonna vote against Thanos, or what's the situation? Let's not do the Infinity War.
I mean,
Spoiler alert, Brian. God.
Yeah, I'm maybe gonna. If I accidentally leave in a spoiler, I'm gonna tag this one real clearly, so don't get mad at me. So she wields the hammer Mjolnir, but she gets separated from it occasionally, and in doing so, she learns
over like financial disputes or
irreconcilable differences.
Okay,
that's what my parents were. And so when she doesn't wield the Warhammer, she learns the ways and advantages of pacifism. And so she is banished to the land of Montana by Odin for refusing to fight in his wars. And there she's there for a while because she's immortal.
Portman. Does she meet Natalie Portman
No,
in Montana?
She does not meet Natalie Portman. I completely forgot that part of the first Thor movie.
It's a pretty major part of the first two Thor movies. And then Marvel decided, we don't need to pay that Natalie Portman money no more.
We don't have the rights to mention Natalie Portman on this podcast.
A very litigious person.
Yeah.
Of course, Natalie Portman being a Jack Kirby character. So there she sort of falls. She gains an affection for humanity and becomes popular for her feats of strength and her ability to summon lightning storms, which...
Now, if I could just say, and Christie's telling us the story, her brother was the Attorney General of Montana, something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So in this, I imagine it's the same thing where he's
just
a normal Attorney General who doesn't love mischief or...
I mean...
stabbing people.
Yeah, I kind of forgot to include that detail.
Okay.
Not to give that away. But so she decided she could do more to help people, especially women. So she fights for the 19th Amendment, as we discussed. And then when she can, she runs for Congress. And so World War I is breaking out, and she sees the nation engaging in this headlong rush to war. And she stands against it. And when the rest of the House of Representatives stands against her, she basically says fuck this, grabs the speaker's gavel, and uses it to smash the roof of the rotunda and flies out. And goes back to Montana. But there she is basically exiled by the sort of bloodthirsty, war-hungry populace. And she wonders...
Let's rewind. Was she initially exiled from Montana? She was born in Montana and exiled from there?
Yeah, this is more of a... she was born in Asgard, exiled to Montana, and then sort of socially
because I was going to say, if you're replacing the Viking afterlife with Montana, I feel bad for fucking Eric the Red, who got there and was like, well, this is not what I expected.
Guess I'm in Bozeman. I'm going to go to Bennigan's. So she wanders around the wilderness and meets a figure who we've discussed in this podcast before, the Dark Wanderer. Who promises her that she'll get another chance to bring about her treasured peace, but when the time comes, it will require a sacrifice. So eventually she's reelected along with FDR's wave, FDR being, of course, Professor X.
Did we establish that at some point?
I don't remember, but I'm going with it.
Okay, so we're just going to throw in casually for all future endeavors if this occurs. FDR is now Professor X.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to treat that as casually as I just did. So she's serving in Congress, and then Pearl Harbor is attacked, and she realizes the sacrifice she must make is the very seat that she fought for. And she votes no. And in the gallery, she sees the Dark Wanderer, who takes off his hood to reveal he's actually her long-lost brother, Loki.
You did remember that part then.
I remembered that part, but not the brother part. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she's exiled again and dealing with complicated feelings about the nature of World War II. And
and she spends the rest of her life working in small ways for certain causes. And when Vietnam comes up and she sees the return of an unjust war, she realizes the time has come to make a true sacrifice for the sake of peace, and declares she would give up her immortality to stop the war. And then her form just dissolves on the breeze.
And the war happened anyway.
Yeah, well...
So,
I forgot
what
that.
a waste.
Or maybe she's still around somewhere in some different form. That was the thing I was leaving open. But I was also very tired because I had to get up at 4 a.m. to go to work. So that is the alternate version of Jeannette Rankin's story.
I see.
So before we move on to judgment, real quick, just want to mention a few things.
I also, to add to my side, because I was just thinking about it, I just, because I didn't realize that she had lost her seat both times because of her vote. And I just, there's so many things, especially, in comedy or just sexism in general, that I want to, speak up about, but I'm, afraid to lose status. And I tell myself, well, just don't speak up right now, because if you're exiled, your word, not mine. If you're exiled, you have no power, and the fact that she was willing to give up everything she worked for to say what she felt was the right thing, man, good for her. Because I just realized how hard that must have been. She's like, she knew probably that she was giving up her job. How crazy, just to say no on this thing that she knew would pass anyway.
Yeah.
Ugh,
There's kind of
what a hero.
There's kind of a heartbreaking
Take
photo.
that, Eugene. Just kidding. There's a heartbreaking photo. What? I'm sorry.
No, that's of her after her vote against World War II. She is sitting in a phone booth, in the Capitol building, just on the phone with someone, and reporters are just crowding around her, and it's just her sitting alone, and it's just it's heartbreaking, but it's also she did this alone. She did this by herself. It's really that one will definitely be up for your perusal. I'm trying to put together more elaborate slideshows for the Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Brian has been, just to set the scene, listeners, during Christie's entire history, Brian was taking selfie after selfie. I could see some Instagram filters in there. That one with the big anime eyes definitely popped up.
Yeah. No, that's definitely what we're doing with... we're doing a picture of Jeannette Rankin.
I got lost during yours because I was like, oh, nerd stuff. I'm tired.
No, I completely understand. I realized when I was writing that, I'm like, God, I hate myself.
No, you're fine. I just haven't seen. I didn't know any of the references. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I think
I saw the parallels a little bit.
6 people do. Yeah.
Well, this podcast is loved by 6 people. So
It's
deeply.
It's loved by 4.
It's
okay.
tolerated.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's tolerated by 8 people, I think.
Well, good.
Well, listeners, Revisionist is a proud member of the Denver Podcast Network, along with such shows as Denver Orbit, which is an awesome show that just won the Westward Best of Denver for Best Podcast. It's an audio magazine featuring different musicians, artists, writers from around the city. So check out Denver Orbit, please.
Please clap.
Please.
God, I remember I did Nerd Roast, and they made me Jeb Bush. I'm like, yeah, that totally that makes sense.
Please like me.
Yeah. I mean, you were already Jeb Bush.
Yeah, it was either
they
that
just
or Gore.
acknowledged it.
Yeah. We also ask that you review the podcast on whatever podcast platform you listen to, because it's crazy helpful for getting the word out. And
if you write a review on iTunes, it's more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a bunch of fucking jiggly.
It can literally be just like JK, all JK, Legal. 5 stars.
Why don't you go to iTunes and correct Brian on all of his bullshit Marvel facts he got wrong?
Yeah. But still give it
us
5
stars
for the actual history.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I could see anyone inclined to do that, doing that right now. You can also interact with us via our website, revisionistpodcast.com, and social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. Christy, you host a weekly show at
I do.
Black Buzzard.
Yes, 1624 Market Street, 9:30 every Wednesday. I have amazing headliners coming through. I haven't had a single week with somebody who hasn't been featured on Comedy Central and or Late Night. So please come check that out. I don't know, when does this come out?
This comes out tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So this week I have Alan Strickland Williams, who you might have seen on Conan. He's one of my favorites. He's great. He's part of the sketch comedy group Women, if you ever liked their sketches. So come check him out, and it's the best. And it's also free. It's a free show, and the venue is amazing. So please come support live comedy, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, and the monthly show is also
yeah.
there
Oh, I
now.
have a monthly show with my girl gang, Pussy Bros, Janae Burris, and Rachel Weeks. We have that last Saturday of the month. This week we have Chanel Ali, and she is amazing. And it's a showcase where we try to have women headliners and bring them out and make sure we focus and give a spotlight to women in comedy. So come and check that as well. That's $5, pretty much free.
Yeah, and totally worth it. $5 is an insane price for that show. That show is amazing.
Thank you.
Zach, Stage of Fools is still the flame is still burning.
We got as of tomorrow, I guess we'll probably release the episode for the second last episode of the season, probably the second last episode of the series. So if you were considering listening to that podcast at any point, now's the time, because probably in 2 weeks it will stop existing. So yeah, it's a podcast I do on the terrible E! Channel scripted drama The Royals, which is a bad show that's based on Hamlet.
Sort of.
Beautiful.
Sort of. Yeah. Yep, that's about it.
As for me, I'll actually be in New York next week, and I'll be doing a show Wednesday, May 16th, Barely Making It at the Creek and Cave in Long Island City. So come check that out, because that'll be really fun. Also, I recently guest hosted Queen City Companion, which is another show Christy hosts, which is available as a podcast through Mutiny Transmissions. So if you look up Mutiny Transmissions, you'll get the podcast of that and all of their fantastic shows.
Yeah, I just have everybody come, artists come and do their thing, and then comedians come and can't do comedy. They can do something else. And it's really fun to see what people come up with and the characters and the fiction they write or anything. So check it out. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite shows. So if you are in Denver, check out Queen City Companion the first Thursday of every month also. But I believe, Zach, judgment falls to you this episode.
You know, I think Christie said it best, which he said, "That was a bunch of nerd shit, Brian." We've been on kind of a run of the alternate history taking it away, and I think that was we got that Marvel tie-in. I'm fucking sick. I'm not going to be Dr. Pepper with its fucking Marvel tie-ins. This podcast is above it unless we get paid by Disney, which we are not. So for that reason, and also because I think your story got a little sweaty at the end. I think this time I'm going to make the unpopular vote just like Jeannette Rankin would have done and said,
like
the
Jeanette
truth.
Yes.
The truth is what will set you free.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that is my vote for this this episode of The Revisionists.
Thank you so much. I needed this win emotionally.
Also, yeah, you mentioned it earlier, but your ranking of Ken Burns documentaries by how depressed.
Oh, yeah. If you guys want to know, I could write a whole thesis on that. But yeah, my mood is total. You can tell what mood I'm in based on which Ken Burns documentary I'm watching. I can't even watch, like, if I'm watching The West, it's a cry. It's a cry for help. Honestly, I can't watch the genocide of the Indians. It's too bad. So if you ever see me watching that, please call the authorities.
Well, Christie, I think both Brian and I hope that for the foreseeable future, you're in a baseball kind of mood.
Thank you. That is the best. That is the best one. Appreciate it.
Where does Jazz fall?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those were the... I mean, the rest are kind of a tie for very, very far down the list.
The Roosevelts has some
Roosevelt's is
good
number
stuff,
3.
yeah.
That one is good. That one's positive. I really identify with Teddy Roosevelt. He's just... he's just like such a badass.
And also, you did map the River of Doubt that one time.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I fought that bear too. So,
So I did not realize how shitty Teddy Roosevelt's early life was until I watched that.
Well, when I was watching that, also I was like, dude, he's just Trump in a different time. Like he's a narcissist for sure. Yeah. And he was just like, my way or the highway.
Yeah, I think
and
temperamentally Trump, politically probably better.
Yeah, of
obviously.
course. Much better.
Yeah, he has some human empathy.
Yeah, he does. But yeah.
But no, totally see that.
Some of that, like, feeling like he can do no wrong sort of thing and big statements. I don't know. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, Christie, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Zach, thank you as always.
Good to see you through the computer.
I know. We have the camera up
too.
finally, so we can tell when each other's about to talk a lot better, I think. But for everyone here at The Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
Have a good time.